back in studio. I feel like I just got home, and a little different. Tom at his Izzy tonight, or today, I should say. See, I can't even keep track of the days, but I'm in studio, and you're here. That's what matters. If you're listening on 93.3, Driving About Town, appreciate you very, very much. Thanks for listening. If you're watching on Warchant TV, you know we always appreciate that as well. Hello to you guys in the chat, watching on YouTube and Warchant TV, as I say. So let's get to. I'm Jeff. That is Tom. On Twitter, it's at Jay Cameron Show. And I should note right off the bat, Noles win again last night in baseball. Here. Yes. A little nervous. We got out hit last night. Good to see Max Williams get it rolling. Frankly, his numbers should be better based on how hard he's hit the baseball so far this year. And that's really what I look at. I really try to look at how often a guy is making good contact. They do it to an even greater extent. Obviously, they're looking at exit velocity and things like that because baseball's cruel, and the ball can find a glove if you're not lucky, and you may not get your just due for having a good at-bat. Max was victimized a little bit by that earlier in the year, and last night you get a whole lot of what for from Max, who, from a power standpoint, overall bat-to-ball standpoint, that flat swing that I talk about a lot that is so impressive. He's a guy that has the chance, of course, to emerge throughout the course of the year as one of the stars of this baseball team. I predicted before the season, and then maybe it was a curse, that Max Williams would end up hitting 20-plus home runs for this team. Still might. And in truth, he may end up being in some ways overshadowed by a superstar freshman over at first base. We'll see. But nice to see him have a big night, and Florida State gets the win. So they keep on keeping on for a team that began the week described by Link Jarrett as being a little beat up, a little worn out early in the year. It's nice to see them accrue win after win after win. And, we'll get rolling in here when really after this weekend, it starts to get juicy. Tom and I were talking about that earlier today. Tommy, how are you, brother? Good to have you on board as always.
Yeah, it's strange. First day I'm not sitting next to you this week, but that's A-okay. This is on pace. For me, I kind of felt like, and you alluded to this as well, but just from the pitching standpoint that, Florida State baseball might have a couple of guys that we're anticipating are going to be very good pitchers and helpful down the line in the bullpen, setup roles, closing roles, that they were going to struggle. You could just see that the writing was on the wall a little bit for that. And John Abraham yesterday gets touched up a little bit. Marlowe unable to record an out late in the game. Kinnear does finish it out, but a couple of walks along the way. So I felt like that was coming, and I think that's going to be a part of this season. The good news is that Florida State isn't beholden to 2 or 3 dudes out of the bullpen to save the day for them. And if they don't go well, then we have no chance. You've got a lot of candidates, but that's why all of these games are meaningful. And I'm glad if you're going to play Lipscomb for a weekend series, do so when it's a 5-game week on the schedule. Because that at least adds to the degree of difficulty about frequency of games played. The next week, it's time to get it on a little bit more. You get ACC play on the weekend, but Florida comes to town next Tuesday, man. That kind of happened fast, didn't it? Here we go. Finally, you're going to get a big-time meaningful game on a Tuesday night.
Yeah, and then you get into ACC play. So, like you said, so all of a sudden it gets real. We had a question in the chat if the Bethune-Cookman game portends of, problems moving forward for the rest of the season. Any singular game in baseball, and I want to make this abundantly clear, rarely does a singular game of baseball, good or bad in terms of the results that you're rooting for, have any real long-term effects. Very rarely would you say that this result means that this team 10 games from now, 15 games from now, 20 games from now will be this other thing, good or bad. It's baseball's not like the other sports. Football, it can absolutely portend of problems. If you struggle with somebody that you ought to beat decisively in an early season football game, not always, but a lot of times, because football is much more a sport about bigger, stronger, faster. If you struggle and you are bigger, stronger, faster, and you don't execute, and you are sloppy, and you lose at the point of attack, and there's an effort issue, a scheme issue, an execution issue, emotions aren't where they need to be, whatever it might be, yeah, man, that sometimes can be an indicator that you're going to have problems in the coming weeks when the competition gets better. But in baseball, one guy controls an awful lot of the action. You can play a team that has very little prospects in the way of postseason success based on their overall roster, but on a Tuesday night, comes in, he throws a gym, he's painting corners, got 3 pitches that he can throw for a strike anytime he wants. Maybe it's a wide zone that day, wind's blowing in, so even your hard hit balls are left in the park, and you can lose a baseball game like that, and it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that you're going to lose a series to a team that's really good decisively. It doesn't mean that you're in trouble. So that's not the way you look at baseball, is through the lens of a singular game. Now, I will say collectively, Florida State's won every game they've played this year, and that is also hard to do in a sport that is as random as baseball. So that's a good sign. You know, if you're looking for a result, look at the collective results up to this point and say that the better team, Florida State, top to bottom on the roster, has been able to execute when they've needed to execute and taken care of business against teams that they should beat. In a vacuum, any one game, Florida State has been better than every single team they've faced this year. As it turns out, the results have also shown that Florida State has beaten every team they've faced this year. So that's a good sign, I guess. I do think there'll be some bumps and bruises and ups and downs for this team because they're a team that really figures to be much better by season's end than they are now. The thing that's largely been in play here pretty consistently, and maybe not as much last night, is that for the most part, Florida State has just had very good pitching. But when you have a 5-game week, as Tom's describing, then you're going to reach down deep for some guys that ordinarily wouldn't be starters. You know, you started a guy last night. He's not really a starter. So this is what's going to happen. You could have some days like that. When you play a lot of games in one week, guys do get worn down, more prone to making some mistakes, or have some guys who are a little bit tired coming out of the bullpen.
Well, I don't know if Link said this today in his Thursday media availability, but for example, look at John Abraham. If you're looking for guys where you say, all right, well, what do you mean? How are they going to be pressed? Well, if Abraham went last night, is he going to be available for multiple innings on a Friday night? Usually he would be the one that you'd line up as the first replacement for Jamie Arnold. Hopefully you would think against an opponent like Lipscomb, you won't really need high leverage outs in the 6th, 7th, or 8th innings. Jamie has now been stretched out to the point where, if it's an easy breezy 90, 95 pitch, 100 pitch night, might as well let him go. Let him go as far as he can go. But still, let's just say for argument's sake, tomorrow night it's closer than we thought. Lipscomb's got a guy, and it's a 2-2 game in the 6th, and Jamie needs to come out. All right, well, we'll see if Abraham would be available in that situation or if somebody else gets a moment. In a 5-game week such as this, multiple players on both the bench and in the bullpen are going to be used in ways that they had not been this season. So that's good. You learn all of these things that you can about your team. You get all the data points that you can. You start to learn who you can trust. And then you erase the board, like Terrence Mann, the fictional character, once said, erase the board and begin again, because Florida Boston College begins a series of games that are going to mean a lot more in conference play. You're going to get a better idea of what you got as we get into the warmer months of the season.
Pretty interesting, for all that we've just talked about, the way that I think a snapshot should be taken of baseball and long-term versus short-term results and, individual outings and individual at-bats, those kinds of things in the long term. I will say that in college baseball, more than professional baseball, you do see some games, some series, some results that carry over and do matter. And when this program was scuffling and Florida had taken off to another level and surpassed what Florida State was, and it was very hard for us to stomach, very hard for us long-term Florida State baseball guys to watch a Florida program that had never been on par with Florida State. Didn't belong, and I'm not saying this chidingly. I'm not saying this as I'm not saying this just to take shots like I often do with Miami. I'm just noting that Florida's program was not on par with Florida State's program for a very, 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 very long time. And when they surpassed Florida State's program in terms of consistency, top-tier talent, producing major league arms, etc., it was a tough pill to swallow. And I wondered when it would come back around, that Florida State would get back on equal footing. And in my estimation, my biased estimation, reclaim their rightful throne in the state, right, in terms of consistency and regular season success. Miami owns the state national champions for baseball, and there's no getting around that, whether we like it or not. But the bottom line is, I kept thinking that was the more immediate worry, was that, can you get past these mental hurdles and win a series against Florida? Can you start winning some games against Florida? Can you make it a situation where you're not so disadvantaged and it's not so abundantly clear that you are? Can we go into a game against them where it doesn't feel like you need baseball, as we say, Tom, to be baseball in order to win it, and get some flukish outcomes on balls that drop in that shouldn't, and maybe you get a little lucky and a guy has a great night on the mound that doesn't ordinarily, or whatever, or conversely, they have an arm that just isn't on that night and you find a way to run into a win. Like we were looking at that ongoing singular game to game to game outing in the season series and just hoping to get lucky. And then Florida State has then since wrestled control back, and now you see that is a great matchup, great series. And Florida State now, when they win those games against Florida, and they ruled their ass last year in a game, really dominated those games, you didn't feel like it was flukish at all. You just felt like, well, Florida's back to being a better baseball program than Florida, and that's nice. And the reason I bring any of that up is to tell you there's an indication where a singular game, because of the way they do it, a one-off, which is stupid, and I lament it all the time, and I hate it, documented, won't go down the path again. But that's where you do look to a game and go, kind of need to win this at some point, guys. You finally, you're going to have to find a way. Well, then they resoundingly did, and that's a credit to Link Jarrett. The approach and the focus and the intensity and the ability to get these guys to get over the hump and end what was just a prolonged run of ass kicking stuff. There's just no other way to say it. I mean, there were stretches in there where we would turn on those games on a Tuesday night, whether it was in Gainesville, whether it was over in Jacksonville, whether it was here. You just kind of really hope we don't get blown out.
Well, in several of those circumstances, it's 2-0 Florida State top of the first. It's 2-0 Florida State bottom of the first going into the second inning. And I remember when that streak was going, it's like, yeah, that's nice, but it's about to be tied. Or yeah, I think one night we might have pushed it to 4 or 5-0. And I'm thinking, yeah, I still don't believe it. And I was correct not to believe it. But now the shoe is a little bit on the other foot. Now, UF got its act together after we lambasted them several times last year in the season series, and they went pretty far in the College World Series themselves. So this figures to be an outstanding, emotionally charged game early next week, and I hope that they make time for the Marching Chiefs again. I don't know that they're going to be able to, though, because it's a spring break. You're going to keep the Marching Chiefs on campus. You're going to have a skeleton crew of people in the right field bleachers playing our fight songs and playing the Warchant. I wonder. But that was an awesome atmosphere last year. It was an awesome return to feeling important again last year, and it only continues on now. And you got to make do with this home stretch. This is a large homestand for Florida State. Again, you've got 3 more this weekend and then 4 games next week at home before you start hitting the road for weekend series. Back-to-back weekends on the road where you play Miami and then you go to the dump of a town at Notre Dame. Like it's starting to get to that place where it feels more than, all right, what are we? Who could help us to, okay, for real, how worried should I be? How nervous should I get about national seeds, top 16 national seed, top 8 national seed? That's where that's all going now. But, yeah, it all starts in short order here. And Florida is always that extra special game because O'Sullivan hits the over every time we play them and pitchers used. He goes through 8, 9, 10 pitchers a game, whether they're killing us, whether we're killing them. You might as well give him one of those little Segway machines to get to the mound and back.
I can appreciate it. It annoys the hell out of me. I don't love it, but I can appreciate it and understand it, why he does it. I mean, they're all trying to get looks in a bit. This is a chance to test guys and get a look against a team that is really good and find out, what you have with a kid in a rivalry game. And you wonder about, so does he have what it takes, that kind of stuff. And I think for Florida State, they'll go into the series against Florida with a bit of an advantage because of Crest, Tom. I think you've got a legitimate starter. Evan Crest would be a guy that starts in the rotation for a lot of people, for most people, meaning the weekend rotation. And you'll get to throw him against Florida, and I think that's an advantage. Somebody in the chat was asking the question whether or not Jamie Arnold or anybody from the weekend rotation would be starting that game. No, they won't do that typically. You're just going to try to stay with the schedule that you've already established. The only time that's different is if there's an injury and you push somebody back, or if somebody's earned their way into the starting rotation and you move one of the guys out of the weekend rotation. That's the only way that happens.
Well, and last year they threw a lot of arms at the problem in some of those games. I can remember the one here. I think I actually oddly was down in town for that game. Maybe it was the baseball grounds, but it was, one inning here, 2 innings there, and we held them down. But in this case, this is a chance for Evan Crest to make a case for himself to make it into the weekend rotation. Now, Wes Mendez is going to strike out 8 over 5 innings again this weekend. You can just put it down in ink. That's what he does. 3 starts, 3 appearances this season on Sundays, and it's 5 innings and it's 8 strikeouts. That's what it's going to be. But if you're Evan Crest, you're looking at this opportunity on a Tuesday night against that lineup to say, hey, man, you guys should be considering me for the weekend rotation. That's where these midweek games take on a life of their own. You can go Johnny Holstaff and learn a lot about 6 or 7 dudes, or you can give your 4th guy a real opportunity to climb into the weekend rotation. And I, for one, am very, very glad that this game is taking place on the week of spring break, because it's going to be this little lag week between, we got a little taste of football interviews today and then spring practice beginning. But now the big term stuff, long-term stuff where we do solving for the future. We can't talk about the conference future anymore, at least from the litigation standpoint, because that's all done. I'm glad that we do get something marquee in a week that is going to be pretty slow, because we ain't going to be talking about the ACC basketball tournament and bubble watch. I don't think we will be.
FSU's tour of duty, strength coach Josh Storms evaluating the standouts, leaders, and more. An article on warchant.com and a conversation we'll have, because as Tom just mentioned, that's what happened today. Josh Storms meeting with the media. We'll talk a little bit about what he had to say and some reactions to all of that. You're right. It's a time in which things slow down just a little bit. It's nice to have that baseball series. Jeff Cameron Show 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.
Ain't nothing but a G-Pod, baby.
I am 99% sure that is not how the lyrics go.
Well, you like remixes, right?
Of course.
Well, think of this as a Grassroots Coffee remix per se, because Grassroots Coffee is now in the single-serve coffee pod game.
Dude, those single-serve coffee pods and cups are weak sauce.
Not Grassroots Coffee G-Pods. They have more coffee in them than regular single-serve pods and cups.
Seriously?
And not only do they have more coffee, they have a built-in filter for better brewing. They fit in most Keurig machines, and they are fully compostable.
It's still the small batch, slow roasted coffee you love, so go to grassrootscoffee.com and get your box of G-Pods today.
Baby!
See? Remix!
Well, actually, that's more of an homage.
Grassroots Coffee, locally owned, locally roasted, and made for everyone, loved everywhere.
Grassroots Coffee G-Pods. So very good.
When I get home from work, I'm ready to relax. So I call Swain Pools and Spas, the pool in the back. I call Swain Pools and Spas. Now I'm soaking up some fun when I want to.
Truckloads of new and used Caldera and Hot Spring Spas are available now at Swain Pools and Spas. Don't wait. Get to Swain Pools and browse the best inventory to find the spa of your dreams. These won't last long, so come see us today. Just look for the huge sign on Tharp Street or call 386-7113 for Swain Pools and Spas.
I know what you're thinking right now. Where can I find a place to get my car fixed and also check out some awesome new hot tubs and spas while I wait? Well, you're in luck. Because when you bring your car or truck in to get serviced at Tallahassee Car Care, it's under the same roof as Swain Pools and Spas for tires, brakes, batteries, tune-ups, oil changes, and all the service you need to get back on the road. Choose the certified technicians at Tallahassee Car Care. Drop by our shop on Tharp Street or visit online at TallahasseeCarCare.com. Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZQuil.
ZQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with Sequel Nights. Explore our products at sequel.com. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
This is the story of the one. He's responsible for keeping a leading healthcare facility clean and safe. And he trusts Grainger's high-quality HVAC cleaning and safety products, combined with their world-class supply chain, to consistently deliver, ensuring he's covered inside and out, so he can focus on keeping his facility clean to help protect the health of everyone inside. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future. Science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50 for those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
For those of you that were looking, you saw the times for the games this weekend. 6 o'clock Friday, 2 o'clock Saturday, 1 o'clock Sunday. We get a chilly weekend this weekend, Tom. What do we got? I never checked the weather window. You've taken the realm of the weather window over from Matt Millar many moons ago. I never look at it. I walk outside. Is it cold? Is it hot? All right, we're good. It's usually not too extreme. But what do we got from that standpoint this weekend? Is it going to be a nice day at Hauser, or are we kind of
Tomorrow's the day. That's the one you want to go to. Tomorrow's the day. Saturday, you may get something good. Sunday is going to be not dry. It's going to be not dry conditions. Tomorrow, the high is 71, buddy. So by the time you get to first pitch, it'll be in the mid-60s, upper to mid-60s, and it drops down to a low of 57. That is outstanding and ideal. And then Saturday, kind of a mixed bag. They're not really sure when the rain's going to arrive yet. Looks like later in the day, so at 2 o'clock first pitch is probably going to be okay. I wonder, though, with how rainy it's going to be on Sunday, if they might not try and play 2 on Saturday and start that puppy earlier. We'll keep you posted on that. Long and short of it is, let's go see Jamie Arnold on a Friday night under perfect springtime in Tallahassee conditions. That would be the play.
Agreed. The Friday night is the way to go. And, of course, Florida State has basketball against SMU on Saturday, right? Ham's swan song. I'm not counting on getting any wins in the ACC tournament. So, kind of where we're at, and we'll go from there. What do you make? We'll have the conversation for those that don't know. But Coach Storm's meeting with the press today and had a lot of things to talk about. Let's start with the thought that, and he pointed it out, that Daryl Jackson has emerged as a leader. After last year's debacle, everyone is rightfully extremely cynical. And they don't, especially if a player was a part of last year's debacle, and he was. I think most people are a group of folks now that are show and prove, right? Yeah, I don't want to hear it. Don't care about how hard a guy's been working out at the tour of duty. But it beats the alternative. It beats that he hasn't been trying hard, of course, but that just stands to reason. The bar should never be that low. They need Daryl Jackson to be good. And he's got the what for size and athleticism to do something about it. But he had that last year, and he wasn't always where he needed to be in terms of effort last year. Came on late, gave you a snapshot, another snapshot yet again of what he could be. We've yet to see Daryl Jackson play from start to finish and have a season that portends, or at least reaches the overly, I think, and to me, the over aggressive descriptors from guys like myself when discussing his physical tools. He's never reached that level of production, and it hasn't even been close. But if he's really going to be a leader and he's chosen to take on that role, and he is going to give us everything he has all the time, well, you might have a menace on your hands. But I don't know whether to buy it either. I agree with our audience who's probably going, maybe he will be. I've heard that before.
Yeah, I've heard that song and dance before. To me, we will be able to report on changes in leadership, I think, with pretty good conviction. After a week or so of practices, a week might be 2 or 3 days, so maybe 5 days worth of practices, you get into full pads, and instead of talking tough and shorts, then guys actually have to come up and do something about it. So you get a better sense of who is actually for real and who is more bark than bite. But I do remember last year, and I said this the moment that it looked like it went awry. One of my teaches from last year was that I thought it was quieter from a leadership standpoint, but I thought that merit and wins on the field early in the season, given the way that schedule felt, and it felt pretty easy, that it was going to help sort some things out, and therefore leaders would organically emerge through snap counts and production on the field. Well, you never won games, so that never had a chance to take flight. But it was different, at least in that regard, from the previous year's team. I thought both teams went to work in camp. Nobody pouted. They went to work. They did what they were asked to do. So I didn't think there was anything different there. But the leadership thing was notable, especially in retrospect. So I'll bet you about 3 weeks from now, we can report whether or not we hear more from Darrell Jackson in terms of getting guys organized, or Tommy Castellanos, who was brought up today, or any of those players. We should be able to see those things and report on those things.
Yeah, I'm always wrestling with how to describe, discuss, relay information regarding leadership. I think it's such an overused phrase, and it seems to be applicable when in doubt. It's an easy thing to fall back on when you're discussing successes and failures, both. If you fail, people routinely cite a lack of leadership. When you succeed, people point at and apply leadership in places that I sometimes think it has nothing to do with. Like, Keon Coleman was not a good leader. Keon Coleman didn't do anything to elevate this team's focus and this team's overall day-to-day work ethic. Keon Coleman did none of that. He was just a bad son of a bitch. Keon Coleman was better than everybody else and routinely showed he was better than everybody else physically. Toolsy. He could do anything. He was a freak of an athlete till he got hurt. And then he played through injury and was not nearly the player he was at the start of the year. He was still good enough, still made enough big plays, but you would never use leadership as a way to describe Keon Coleman. You'd just say he's better. He's just better. People shouldn't be 6'4", 2 whatever with a 40-inch vertical. Like that. It's just like, it's crazy that he has all those tools. And Jordan Travis, before he took the step forward and became a great leader, was just known as a guy who was very reserved and quiet and kept to himself and didn't say blank if he had a mouthful. And then all of a sudden he was this great leader. Well, that, or he just took a huge step forward in understanding how to read a defense pre-snap, and he was always blessed with physical tools to make you miss in a phone booth. So coupling those things suddenly made him very, very productive, and he became a great leader because of it. Now, there were things that changed about the way Jordan Travis practiced and asserted himself and talked to teammates. That's true. But I would argue that they coincided with his overall confidence level, born out of understanding what he was looking at and having more confidence and thus succeeding more frequently, and then having the ability to say something because he was now in a better place in stature as one of the better players on the team. My point is, I'm not saying leadership doesn't matter, and I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I am saying that it's frequently cited where it ought not be. And Darrell Jackson's I think the best trait Darrell Jackson can have to prove he's a leader might not be saying a single word to his teammates, but rather at 6'5", 335 pounds of menace with speed, great feet, unbelievable length, strong hands. Well, just why don't you practice hard every day? Play hard every day. Destroy that dude across from you. You're an NFL first-round caliber defensive tackle. Dominate every day. That's leadership. That makes the offensive lineman you're going against better. That shows that even as somebody with all that ability, you're willing to put in the work. You're willing to lead by example as opposed to barking at somebody who's half-stepping. No, you're in the trenches doing it every day. It's 102 degrees, and you're busting that ass, and people see that, and that's leadership. I don't care how often you yell at somebody or encourage somebody. It matters too. It's not nothing, but really it's about how hard you play and how hard you work. So when Storms is talking about him today, I sure hope that's an awful lot about how that's the first one in the gym and the last to leave, and he's improving his numbers, and he's in the right kind of shape weight-wise, and he's all those things, because that'll go an awful long way, because I know this. If somebody's better than you, and we all know we've all played sports, there's a guy on every team that you ever played with, unless you're a freak yourself. The bottom line is we all played sports where there were guys that were teammates that were simply better than us. They were physically superior than us. They either ran faster, jumped higher, or both, or were stronger, or all three. If they worked really hard, you knew you didn't have a choice, and that's leadership.
Yeah, I agree. There are different ways that leadership materializes, but I don't think there's any question that last year's group didn't have it. There wasn't anybody that they rallied behind. Like, for example, you could say it's about working as hard as you can every day, but Jared Verse was held out of a lot of practices in 2023. He did the minimal amount. Like in a pass rush drill, he'd go against the starting left tackle, 1 rep, and then he's done for about 15 minutes. But in the interim, what he would do is he would be voracious in either his criticism or praise of the guys that were working with him on that side of the ball, or even the offensive linemen. Sometimes he'd walk across and dap somebody up or yell at them and talk trash to them because they got owned, and so you see them elevate their game. There was extra. He was involved, and I think he learned that from Jermaine Johnson, who, even though he was here for 1 year, came back, and I recall him several practices. He's eating lunch, just standing on the field, watching the defensive line go against the offensive line. And if somebody wanted to come talk to him and they needed a pointer, he could offer up that pointer. I think even Keon Coleman fell in line, because a couple of years ago, he would pull aside some of those lesser wide receivers down the depth chart and at least talk about how the release, how to get off a jam, how to clean up some of their routes. I mean, he was at least being productive in between reps. Whereas last year, it's just, you had some guys who were stars, who were supposed to be stars, who were held out in certain circumstances, but you didn't see that little bit of extra connection with the guys down the depth chart. To me, it's akin to how Jimbo worked with quarterbacks. You could be a walk-on or his starter, but he would be involved with you all the way down the line. We had a lot of guys that were like that 2 years ago. And I think it was important for the whole team to see that Jordan and Trey and Jared were all, and Braden Fisk, when he came in, kind of fell right into it because he became good friends with Jared. But you see all of those guys at the top interacting with each other and getting down to details with each other. And I think it sets the tone for everybody else to fall in line. There was nobody setting the tone for this group to fall in line last year. That was, in retrospect, you watch those practices, and that's something I probably should have brought up when I was down here for that fall camp.
Yeah, I'm just saying that I think that's we may be defining this differently. I just don't know. I never would have called Jared Verse a leader. I would have been more apt to tell you that I thought Braden Fisk was a better leader when he got healthy than Jordan. I mean, not Jordan Travis. Sorry, did I say Jared Verse? I don't think Jared Verse was a leader. Jared Verse had a ton of practices where he didn't do a damn thing. Now, but he wasn't a malcontent. I mean, Jared Verse was a guy that was all about the team, so he wasn't a distraction and he wasn't a problem. And he showed up on game day and whooped ass. So people just respected his talent and the way he produced game day, and they knew what he was. And he put in the time in the weight room, and he took care of his body, and he didn't cause problems in the meeting rooms, and he wasn't a problem at practice, but he was a pro, and everybody knew he was going to be a pro. Most people there knew that he was going to be a first-round pro. And so They understood that, there were days that he could take care of his body a little bit more because he sometimes was hampered with injury, but he was going to show up on Saturday. You could say that's a form of leadership, but I don't think it's a traditional form of leadership the way that most fans view leadership. They think of a rah-rah guy who's encouraging at all times and constantly competing and always rep for rep, the guy that is best representing what it means to take pride in what you do. That wasn't Jared Verse. He took plenty of practices off. That wasn't him.
We are defining it differently. I saw Jared Verse, especially in those breakout drills, still very involved, even if he wasn't a part of the drill itself. Still very involved, encouraging. I thought last year's veteran guys who were held out were screaming at dudes more than being involved with dudes. There's a difference. And
there is. I think we're describing somebody who's just a good teammate or not. I think that, I think Jared Verse was a very good teammate. I agree with that. He was never going to be a problem because he's a good teammate, a good person, and a hard worker. So I just think that's if you're just that, you're going to reach the bare minimum level of leadership. I think just by not being a problem that takes, you're not taking away from the team. But I view leadership a little bit differently. But it's semantics, I suppose. I don't think anybody wants to hear about, it's just too easy to say somebody's shown great leadership. And I think we're all going to be a little cynical because Mike Norvell talked about the leadership on last year's team before it started the season and talked about things that he liked from a leadership standpoint. In retrospect, they had none. And it's just going to be hard for anybody to accept that. Nobody's going to.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And they're right to be cynical. The fan base is absolutely correct to be cynical. I'm just saying if I see something different than I saw in 2024, I'm going to say it. And you can laugh. And I will preface, I'll say, you can all laugh. But I think Tommy Castellanos is taking he's going the extra mile here in order to get guys involved. And look, I think there are plenty of teams that have good leadership that still suck and win 5 or 6 games. It doesn't mean you're going to be good. But I would like to see a marked difference in the amount that guys are investing in each other in terms of interaction during drills instead of it being quiet as a mouse between one rep and the next. And I think we're going to see that this time around.
Oh, yeah, I think so, too, because of the way I think they're going to practice and also what they're trying to be, and they're installing. You have new coaches. There's a lot of this fighting for position again and all that. But I also believe, Tom, that I think you can, to me, the best form of leadership will be when your best players are the hardest workers, regardless if they're patting people on the ass, regardless if they're encouraging somebody after a rep. You'd like that to be the case. That's what a close-knit team does. I don't understand it when it's not like that. That is something that's hard to fathom. Football is so effing hard that most of the time you have a kinship with the guy that is in that fire with you because you know how hard it is. You know how tired you are. You know how many times you had to give up something that the average college student has access to in terms of going to a party or being lazy on a Saturday morning, whatever it might be, right? So you know that, and therefore that binds you usually to somebody. But when that doesn't happen, then you've got a culture issue. And I think that's something that we have to hope is not the case. There's no reason to believe we do. I think last year they had a bit of a culture issue, and that's it played out. It played out with the lack of effort, and that would forever be heartbreaking. But we don't need to relitigate that. That's for sure. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. 63 this afternoon under sunny skies. Northwest winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Lows dip down to about 39 tonight. High temperatures reach up to 69 tomorrow. Lots of sunshine. 73 Saturday with a chance of thunderstorms. 70 Sunday, chance for storms continues. This report is brought to you by The Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 59.
Take a sip and have a trip with Tallulah's famous THC slushies. Lots of fun flavors to choose from. Refreshingly delicious and the perfect way to relax. Stop by Tallulah's and try the all-new sugar-free Jolly Rancher slushie today and find out why everyone is going mad for honey. A rare, intriguing, deep red honey harvested from the mountains of Nepal. Mad Honey is the latest trend, creating quite the buzz. Literally. Try Mad Honey today, only available at a Tallulah store near you.
Hey, everybody, this is Shannon Young with Cross Country Mortgage. Been in the industry now for 22 years. I just made the move over to the nation's largest retail lender, Cross Country Mortgage, here to serve you in 7 states, including Florida, Georgia, Alabama, the Carolinas, Tennessee, and the state of Texas. Here to offer better service, better rates, and if you were thinking about buying or if you've been on the fence and been waiting to call me, now is the time. You can still find me at loansforknowles.com. That is, again, loansforknowles.com. I've helped thousands of fellow Knowles get into their dream home, and I can't wait to help you get into yours. Give me a call today. I'm at 954-369-6171, or go to loansforknowles.com. Again, that's 954-369-6171, and that's loansforknowles.com.
Equal housing NMLS 373031.
There he is. Haven't seen this guy since, what was it? Oh, shoot. U2 at the Sphere in Las Vegas, baby.
Hey, how about that, man? Wasn't that fun?
Good show. Good show. Everything about it. Nearly perfect. Nearly perfect.
I had everything I could possibly want.
I wanted one thing, couldn't find it, and I looked everywhere. No Cubans.
What do you mean? There was
Cubans.
There was Cubans.
No, I didn't see any Cubans.
Dude,
no.
I'm sure there was Cubans there. I mean,
No. I walked around. There was a moment right before the show. I thought, got to find some Cubans. Nothing.
Dude, there's Cubans. There was Cubans. I'm sure there was Cubans.
In Las Vegas?
In Las Vegas.
No Cubans in Vegas.
There's Cubans in Vegas, man.
Eddie, there were no Cubans.
Chef.
The sandwich. There were no Cuban sandwiches. You're Cuban. Of course I know there were Cubans there.
Oh, the sandwich. Yeah, no, there probably wasn't many there in Vegas.
No Cubans.
No, not yet.
Florida, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness. 2 Tallahassee locations, Midtown on Thomasville Road and Northside in the Village Common Shopping Center. Online at orangetheoryfitness.com.
Good to hear that he thought that Thomas Castellanos, I should say. Tommy, are we supposed to say Tommy? Is that right?
Yeah, that's what he prefers. I like it.
I don't, but it's...
You're not a big fan of the get anyway. I think that's part of it.
Well, I think it fits. I've said that. I think it fits for what you brought in offensively, at OC. I think it fits. I don't think, Tommy Castellanos has been, I don't think he's been a great quarterback. But if we can utilize the skill that he has a lot of, which is the ability to run, then so be it. And I think they should. Absolutely. Hey, something really quick. Storms was asked about, what happened a year ago, basically, and a reflection on the season that was. And he said, you have to have confidence in who you are, what you are, and what you do. And then what you've got to do is go back and go back through and find what are the areas where we can improve within these things. Is there a hole that I wasn't aware of until now? So the biggest thing is the evaluation of that. But most important, it's being confident in who you are and what works. This interested me because, Tom, I think if we are going to take the time as we did at many points last year, and obviously as the season ended, it's been talked about a lot too, because everybody wants to try to pin down what happened. How did it happen? I mean, it still leaves most of us somewhat dumbfounded. I think it leaves most people in the college football world, like in that universe, kind of perplexed, because we just hadn't seen the extremes. We hadn't seen 12-0 turn into 2-10. And we hadn't seen somebody steadily climb in the way that Florida State did, only to fall in such a steep way. And so I think that everybody's taking their turn trying to pinpoint, what was the culprit? Was it the offensive line? Was it the quarterback? Was it the lack of receivers? Was it a culture issue? Was it, a misevaluation of talent through the portal? What exactly was it? In truth, it's probably, a confluence of a bunch of things, as we've said before as well. But we had no doubt while we had these discussions that the way it manifests itself wasn't just in a 2-10 record and loss upon loss upon loss, but rather also a coach that went from flying high and getting a raise and rising to a place where he was thought of amongst his peers as a top 10 coach to a guy who looked like he was, as I like to say, bereft of hope, to a guy that looked shook, as we described on many occasions, to a guy who looked like many times in the post-game presser like he had seen a ghost, to a guy who had a look on the sideline that was captured and repeatedly shown game in and game out when Florida State fell behind yet again. This bewildered, are you kidding me? What is this sort of look? Which scared me because I thought it showed, without question, a guy who had lost confidence, a guy who had to question exactly who he was, and what he was looking at. And I wonder, anytime I see that in anybody, in any field, are they capable of getting it back? If you see a hitter go through a prolonged stretch where they just can't make good contact with the baseball, and prior to that, they had been an elite player, an all-star caliber player, will they ever figure it out? Will they ever make the adjustment? Will they ever regain their confidence? It's fair to ask. It's what happens when people have a bad season or two, or a long stretch where they're not showcasing the prowess they once had. I think Storms is right when he talks about believing in yourself and having confidence in what you do, but rather than also looking at the process and saying to yourself, where are the holes? I know what I do succeeds. It has. It's what got me to Florida State. It's what got me to a position to where the snub could happen, right? You put yourself in a position by winning the conference championship and having an undefeated regular season. You put yourself in a position to even be in the midst of that controversy. That doesn't happen without confidence in what you're doing. That doesn't happen without a plan. That doesn't happen without surrounding yourself with good coaches and the ability to implement and teach and build confidence in others. All of that's true. I think that if you're Mike, you are going to have to fall back on that. Look at last year as a blip on the radar and an outlier to some extent, but ask the very important question that Storms alluded to, which is, how did it happen? Were there holes in my process? Was there a blind spot? I think he's right about that.
Yeah, that's what my hope is for practice, that whatever changes are made to it, whatever changes may have been made to Josh Storm's work in the offseason, is that it can detect these problems. Is there some way through the work that you have outlined in an off-season conditioning program or in the course of a 24-period practice that it can help unearth and detect if somebody's not all in? That's my hope for practice, because to me, again, there were little things, little under the current storylines that might have been happening in practice. But if you just looked at the 24 periods for what they were, and the drills as they're constructed, and the structure of a Tuesday or a Wednesday, the way it was in fall camp versus 2 years ago and 3 years ago, there wasn't anything crazy that stood out other than this team, for the first time since Mike Norvell has gotten here to Tallahassee, is worse than its predecessor. We did say that at the time. Every year I would get the call from certain family members, spring camp and fall camp, without divulging how they look. Better than they were last year, better than they were last camp. There was a constant progression. Now, you can't always be better, but last year was the first time I thought, no, this group's got more flaws than last year's group did. But I didn't watch them and say, oh, God, they don't care to be here, or, oh, God, there's going to be a rude awakening in Dublin. So is there something that you can do if you're Josh Storms or you're Mike Norvell to help expose that now, like in March, before you play your first game against Alabama, and then you follow up with Virginia on the road in Game 4, and you realize in the second quarter it's 7-0, and they got goal to go. You don't want to be staring off into the stars like he was in the second quarter against Boston College in a 7-0 game. Is there something that can help you answer those questions and nip problems in the bud? And maybe they found something. Hopefully we get a chance to see it and document what those changes might be.
I think there is. I think it starts with obviously being physical in practice, but holding people accountable if they're showing a lack of willingness to engage in that physicality that we're talking about. It's interesting. I don't know if you got a chance, Tom. I've been listening. Really, when the Combine started, I started listening to NFL Network stuff and the interviews in particular with players, right? And one of the players that stood out to me in an interview was Jalen Walker, the edge guy, the linebacker from Georgia. He's such a good player, right? he was asked about, and we've discussed this before, the so-called Bloody Tuesdays that they have at Georgia. And that's called Bloody Tuesdays because it's all out, good on good, ones versus ones, full pads. It's a game-like atmosphere, and it's every Tuesday. They beat each other's ass. They get after it. They tackle to the ground. It's live. It's all live. And other programs do that. Georgia Tech does it too. And we've talked some about that and the importance of doing that. But his response to that was, he said, I wished we had been more physical last year. I think it hurt us. And the reporter said, well, what about Bloody Tuesdays? He's like, yeah, we probably could have used some Bloody Wednesdays too.
Oh,
okay. Yes. Give me that. Give me that kind of energy, baby. Let me see some guys who would respond to that question the same way right here in Tallahassee. I want a bunch of guys that are like, oh, no. Yeah, we got our own version of Bloody Tuesday, and I'd like to have more of them. That mentality. Give me that. It was one of the best answers I heard at the Combine all week. I was like, oh, well, I like him.
Well, that's one of the things that happened last year. Earl Little's the easiest example we point to, but he's not the only one. When you saw players who had that mindset that you're speaking of, they looked different. They stood out immediately. Within a play or two, they stood out. And that can't happen again. You just can't have that again this year.
Yeah, when effort makes you stand out. It's somewhat problematic when it's the effort that makes you stand out. Shannon Young has made a move to be part of the nation's largest mortgage company. He's now with Cross Country Mortgage. That's good stuff for you. Better rates, better options, stronger support. He's awesome. He's also in 7 states, Florida, Georgia, Bama, Tennessee, Texas, and the Carolina. Loansforknowles.com to learn more. Hardworking, smart, and a Knoll. He'll get it done for you. That's loansforknowles.com. Hour number 2 forthcoming. Stay with.
Looking for a new SUV? Kraft Nissan has 6 models of SUVs with prices starting at $21,900. A reviewer noted that the newly designed Murano Platinum trim is very close in class to much higher priced luxury SUVs. See it for yourself at Kraft Nissan in Tallahassee.
Games for Less, Tallahassee's largest selection of new and used games, as well as new and used consoles like Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Atari 2600, PS4, and PS5. You name it. Locally owned and operated since 1994, trade-ins are not only welcome, but Games for Less pays more for your trade-ins than the big chain stores. That's not all. Games for Less now buys and sells new and used vinyl records to boot. George loves the Beatles, by the way. Reserve all the new releases today at Games for Less, conveniently located in the Walmart Supercenter Plaza on Appalachia Parkway.
Choose Hearth and Patio for custom fireplaces, maintenance, outdoor grills, kitchens, fire pits, lighting, and so much more. Check out all of Hearth and Patio's options online at hearthpatiotallahassee.com. Hearth and Patio, they keep the home fires burning.
T-Park Enterprises, roofing and construction services. T-Park Construction.com. We conquer all creeks. We fix those darn leaks. Call 850-766-134. T-Park Enterprises, roofing and construction services. T-Park Construction.com.
CCC 1331204.
What makes Paul's Termite and Pest Control the best in North Florida?
It's our core values, of course, and they happen to spell Paul's.
P, protecting you and your pets from pests and your property from termites. A, accept personal responsibility. At Paul's, we realize it's up to us to get things right and strive to do more than's expected.
U, uphold company values. Those values include treating others with respect and understanding we represent Paul's Pest Control on and off the clock.
L, look the part. As representatives of this great company, we will always make sure that our image matches the character of Paul's.
S, support the team. Every job we do is a total team effort to create a supportive workplace.
P, protecting you, your pets, and your property. A, accept personal responsibility. U, uphold company values. L, look the part. S, support the team. Paul's core values. They make us the best.
For the elimination of termites and other pests.
And a greener lawn, too.
Call Paul's. We'll get them all.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus, happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas Wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron Show, live and local on Real Talk 93.3, WVFT, Greta, Tallahassee.
All right, gang, a new sponsor on board here for Warchant, all of the entities that we have here on Warchant TV, and that is Ridge Wallet. If you've seen these on maybe a bar top or a countertop near you, here's why you need to join and go grab yourself a Ridge Wallet. We're going to save you money while you do it. Ridge Wallet holds up to 12 cards, hotel keys, whatever you need, plus cash. It is super light. It is not like my old wallet. I had one of those giant tri-fold leather wallets that ended up starting to tear away at the back pocket in my pants. If I forgot, for example, to take my wallet out when I was playing golf at Capital City, you'd start to get that little tear at the seams because the thing is so damn heavy and bulky. Also, when you're traveling and you're going through security at the airport, it's just another bulky thing that kind of drives you nuts. And until you get something better, you don't realize how much it was inconveniencing you. So that's why when Ridge Wallet said, hey, would you be interested in having a promotion run through Warchant, through the Jeff Cameron show, through Wake Up Warchant, we said absolutely. And here it is. I got mine. It's bright green. That way I don't miss it. If I set it down on the table, I don't forget it. But it holds up to 12 cards, as I said, and it's super, super light. This is the way right here with Ridge Wallet. You can get up to 40% off at ridge.com/wakeup. That's right. Right now, it's a once-a-year anniversary sale. Get up to 40% off at ridge.com/wakeup. Just head to ridge.com/wakeup, and you can be saving today. All Ridge wallets come with a lifetime warranty, so this is literally the last wallet that you'll ever have to buy, and make sure to give us credit after you purchase and save up to 40%. Let them know at ridge.com that we were the reason you came to buy.
And it develops fits and features that change everything you know about comfort, like hands-free Skechers slip-ins, the ultimate in comfort and convenience. It's footwear you just step into and they're on, with no bending down. Find Skechers at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
On the front lines, fighting the insanity of the woke, it's Matt and Brett Doster with America in View.
Matt, Florida has become the world leader.
Stop fighting the algorithm. You know you can't get enough Florida State filling your feed. Well, there's no better way to keep up with FSU on YouTube than with members-only level Warchant. It's going to get you bigger, faster, and stronger. How? Bigger.
It's hour number 2.
Join now for exclusive access to a bonus segment of the legendary Seminole headlines.
Faster.
Get debut access days in advance of the public release of the latest episode of X's and O's with Dominic Robinson, a look at the All-22 film.
Stronger.
Utilize the Member Milestone Chat, a new feature which allows your comment to be highlighted in live chats during Warchant.com shows for maximum visibility. All of this in addition to members-only flair like badges, emojis, and polls to drive the conversation of the home of the Ultimate Seminole Sports Source on YouTube. Give it a try. Cancel it anytime. No commitments, no phone calls, no emails. Just a few clicks within your YouTube account. Warchant.com members only YouTube. The next level in FSU coverage on YouTube.
Services. So the next time you need plumbing work or repairs, think of the name M&L Plumbing. Your local plumbing experts, commercial or residential. Give us a call, 850-575-9393, or online at mnlplumbing.com. M&L Plumbing, for all of your plumbing needs.
Science-backed, technology tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50. For those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
Live from Florida's capital city, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Gotta say the word, Jeff. You can't just blah, blah, blah. Kind of fun to do. Hope you're well. Hope you're enjoying this fine day. I'm Jeff. That's Tom. On Twitter, it's at @JCameronShow. Appreciate you guys listening on these airwaves, 93.3 FM, as well as on YouTube, Warchant TV. Appreciate that very much. A little bit different background today. No beautiful scenery behind us, Tommy, but I will tell you, not that this is bad scenery, this is the technical look inside behind the curtain of the machinations, how it all works in a studio and all that. Not the same as a glorious beach with bright blue skies and seagulls echoing in the background.
That was
something.
It was a nice office to have for a few days. It ended up being a lot busier than we thought it would be. I was talking to James B in the chat about that. It was a lot busier than we thought it was going to be, but it was a great way to just stop and smell the salt air, which you don't get a lot of here. In fact, you don't get any of here. And it was a very nice break. And apparently the threshold has been crossed too. We've had some bookings with Above and Beyond from JCS listeners and viewers.
Oh,
so
that's exciting. I'm glad. Yeah, I'm sorry, Tom. Yeah, I just got excited. That makes me happy. We really enjoy working with. So far, it's been awesome working with Matt and Jen, and they're Knowles. They're Knowles, and they'll help you save a lot of money. This was the week, and it's the launch week for a new advertiser, and we often welcome our new advertisers on in grand fashion if possible. But they took it above and beyond, and they had us come down, and we were able to stay and also see many of the properties that they have, and that gave us a better opportunity to kind of discuss genuinely, authentically about the area and the different types of properties that you can rent, the locations. They've done Eden, Palm Harbor, Clearwater Beach, coastal Pinellas County, just absolutely 30-plus different kinds of units. Beautiful. 18 of those properties have a pool, as well as also being right there by the ocean. So you get the best for a family-style vacation, or just you and some buddies and family, whatever it might be. Maybe it's a family get-together or a reunion of some sort, but you avoid the VRBO and the Airbnb middleman fees. And if you book this week, it's 15% off. You just have to use the code JCS. That's the launch code. They are, by the way, already booked solid for March, but everything else is open right now. So if you were planning on doing it here in the coming weeks or months, you've got an opportunity now, and I would book it. I would do it because these properties are going to fill up fast. Sound like a guy making a sales pitch, but I mean it. Having seen them, I think it's probably a smart move. Go to aboveandbeyondvr.com. Aboveandbeyondvr.com. Use that promo code, though. Save you a bunch of money. Tom and I were playing with the booking part of this and like typing in the code so that we could relay to people what it would look like or how much you could save and all that. And Tommy, in some cases, man, you're in a cottage or a bungalow right on the ocean.
Yeah.
You're saving $150, $200 depending on which of the locales you're booking with this code, plus the no middleman fees. None of that. It's good stuff.
I was able to happen by the house in Landsberg yesterday, surprised my mom. Well, if she answered the text, it wouldn't have been a surprise. But I said, you know what? I'm going to ignore that she did not tell me that she was at home or not. I'm going to give it a shot. I remember the code to get in. So I walked in, I surprised her, and that was great. Had a good about 45 minutes, hour before I hopped in the car and kept going on my way up here. And she said, show me the properties. I want to see them. I said, oh, okay, sure. So I showed her one of those cottages that are near the water that we got to see on Sunday night when we did the tours. And she said, that's the one. I agree, because it's a private little off the beaten path area where you don't hear the noise of the pier. You don't hear the noise of Palm Pavilion, and it's private parking. That's the way to do it, man. But there's all kinds of stuff for whatever you want to do. So yeah, thrilled to get back down there soon. I'll put it that way. Now that we're back here, I'm looking forward to being back down there.
I wrestled with the properties, and at the end, I really settled in on the luxurious 3-story condo.
I'm sure you did.
I thought about the bungalows and the cottages, and I just went, in the end of the day, seems to me that the cameras need to be at the 3-story luxury condo. That's where we need to be.
Well,
it
makes a lot of sense because the boys would each get their own room. And then also they would use the hell out of the pool table and the dartboard and the pinball machine. So, yeah, makes sense.
All right, big day in free agency. I'll get to some of that in the third hour, the bonus hour, all that good stuff. This is the legal period of tampering and all the good things that happen in the National Football League from now and through this next Wednesday, which is a lot of fun. I did want to point out a college football story very quickly, and it led me to ask this question of our own fan base, those folks in the chat, you and me talking. You saw my man, Coach Dan Lanning, getting a substantial raise. And that will be to lead Oregon, obviously. Hopefully, that's what Phil Knight is thinking, to their first ever national championship. And he'll get paid close to $11 million annually. It's a nice number, especially for a guy that young. It will run for 6 years through 2030, though his buyout to leave remains $20 million. He's gone 35-6 in 3 seasons. He's 38 years old. He went undefeated during the regular season this year. Their first season in the Big Ten, they won the championship in year 1 in the league, and they earned the number 1 overall seed. Obviously lost in the rematch to Ohio State in the second round. That game was in the Rose Bowl. That deal in the books. Credit Yahoo Sports for breaking that first and foremost. So I ask you this. We saw Mike Norvell be the talk of the town, get a substantial raise. It got to $10 million. And then obviously thud. I don't suppose Oregon is going to have the same kind of thud. Doesn't seem conceivable. They've also recruited better than Florida State, and so it's not likely to happen. But will Mike Norvell ever be again at any point at Florida State on the receiving end of one of these kinds of news moments where I talk about a new extended and or raise contract for Mike Norvell?
It's a great question because I don't know, short of getting to the national championship game this year, that it would even be entertained this particular season. I think if you got all the way to the final game,
you wouldn't get a raise. Screw you. I'm not giving you a penny more. No.
Well, that I believe I would agree with you, but what I'm saying is it's not even a conversation unless you get that far and you blow expectations out the water. In 2 years' time, if you were to win 9 this season in the regular season, and next year with that schedule having Alabama and Notre Dame and Florida, Clemson and Miami, and you make your way to the playoff next season, I think at that point you're showing that in 4 out of 5 years, I've been very, very good. 2-10 is without question the outlier in this conversation. I've been able to revamp my staff and return to the results that I had before I needed to revamp my staff. I think you could make a case at that point that he could have a news day like this. But it would take 2 seasons, 2 consecutive seasons, starting now, of blowing expectations out of the water. So you could ask about, is that viable? Is that realistic? I don't know. I'm just saying that's what it would take. It would take a whole lot of good to where you could say 4 out of 5 years have been excellent here.
Yeah, because fair or not, what happens right now is that people say, well, you've had 3 losing seasons in 5 years here at Florida State. I'll grant you the 2 are very good. But we do have on record 3 losing seasons, including historically bad 2-10. And so you're saying what would shake off the rust or the suck or the perception of would be 2 robust winning seasons to go with the 10-3, 13-1, right?
I'm saying yes, you would need to pair those with 22 and 23.
Right, yes.
Yeah, but I think if you have a middling season this year, you're delaying that conversation. I don't think you can have a middling season this year and then one good one in 2026 and say, how about that raise, everybody? I think you need to put a couple of good years together, and you need to show that over a 5-year span, I'm a badass. If they go 7-5 this year and he does just enough to continue on moving forward, I think you delay any talk of a negotiation on an extension and a raise by multiple seasons.
Yeah, I believe he's done short of sustaining excellence at an elite level, such as annually winning the conference, going to the playoff, winning some games in the playoff. Short of doing that, I think he's done irreparable harm for the foreseeable future to his reputation here in the fan base. And I would think within the administration, this is not a personal pot shot. This is not like trying to lampoon him yet again above and beyond what we've already described as a pathetic season worthy of being fired. There's not many more ways to describe how disgruntled and frustrated Florida State fans were with this past year, other than to say for what it is, unacceptable, completely unacceptable. We get into the nuanced discussion of, well, we're also not going to ignore the successes, so he gets another year, and the financial realities of the situation grants him that year. But it does affect the conversation and the reputation moving forward, period. And I do wonder what it will take. I don't think he's going to have the kind of season this upcoming year that does anything close to erase what just occurred. So we're still going to be having a conversation after this next season about how much time does Mike have here and, what's realistic moving forward. You just want those conversations to be rooted in a huge step forward and to further remove the bad taste from your mouth that still lingers until we get on the football field again this upcoming fall. You just hope that you're talking about, okay, all right, look, yeah, no, we're nowhere near Ray's category. We're nowhere near Ray's status. We're nowhere near given an extension, but he's no longer in hot water. He's no longer on the hot seat. And I think he goes into this season on the hot seat. This is the offseason. The offseason is filled with articles about those that are or are not, or somewhere in the lukewarm temperatures. That's how the offseason goes. It's a list bonanza. And he'll be on the short list of those that are in hot water.
I think it's worth revisiting, though, something we said when these coordinator hires were made, that it would take a lot for him to be on such a hot seat that he's fired in 2025. It would take a lot. Usually when you bring in new coordinators, you're not on your last legs. You're going to get a couple of years. Now, I'm saying usually. I do wonder if Florida State does secure its Power 2 future, it becomes more bold in how quickly it would move and
because
change
of the
course.
money you've got coming in soon, yeah.
Yeah. And because you're trying to signal to all parties involved that you're taking this issue extremely seriously. But I think you at least got a couple of years here to evaluate him, unless this thing crashes and burns again this season. That's hard to envision that happening, though.
Yeah, I could see this. You could take this a lot of different directions, man. Because you could say that what just happened on Tuesday expedites the process the way you just described, meaning that you have more monies coming in soon, presumably because you're going to end up in one of the Power 2. And then also you could argue you don't have time. You have to start putting your best foot forward to ensure that you are going to be part of that Power 2. You can't be out here half-stepping, steady being below average to bad, and expect that your place is secured in one of the Power 2 conferences because, goodness gracious, you're an also-ran. So you have to start winning games again and wipe clean this lasting image of just stumbling in the dark. So yeah, I get what you're saying. You bring in coordinators, and typically, you want to see this through for a couple of seasons. But I don't know, man. He's got to go over 500 this year. I think we would admit that. I mean, I know you want a guy to have a couple more seasons when you bring these people in, but I mean, you could also argue you just brought in a former head coach and a guy who aspires to be a head coach. So maybe your next head coach is on the staff.
You could be. I think if you're looking at this situation healthily or with healthy mind, you're not even considering 6-6 as a possibility. I'm not worried about it. It's Phil Mickelson. I'm not trying to win one major, everybody. I'm trying to win a lot of majors.
Right.
If you're worried about going 500, if he's in that coaching office, then he might as well just resign, because I don't think you bring in Tony White and his support staff and Gus Malzahn and his support staff, and you don't close as strongly as you did on signing day, the early signing period week. Something happened there too, right? I mean, can't we talk about that? That's not just about new hires. That's also about financial commitment. That's the quiet part out loud. You're flipping kids from Ole Miss and LSU and Florida and Georgia and Auburn, and some of them might be 3 stars, but some of them might be high-level 4 stars. One was a 5-star. If you're able to do that coming off a 2-10, it ain't because they say, "Oh my God, you guys got Tony White." It's not because they're saying, "Oh my God, you guys got Gus Malzahn." It's they're saying, oh, I didn't expect to hear you say that when you picked up the phone to call me and tell me about what incentives there might be to come to Florida State. So I think you're looking at this particular situation with an eye towards blowing the Vegas over-under out of the water. If you're Mike Norvell, you got to think that way.
Oh, I hope he's thinking that way too. But again, that number is, a realistic with the schedule that they have: Alabama, Florida, Miami, Clemson. Because you have those games and you were what you were last year and what they project to be, you can't be expecting much more than 8-4. Maybe some people are, but I don't know that that's realistic. So blowing it out of the water is the mentality a coach should have. The reality is he's got to win 7 games, somewhere in that ballpark, to ensure that he's going to remain gainfully employed, I would think. When a tree lands on your roof and there is structural damage, a roofer can't always repair that simply because, by the way, they don't have the licensing. They're not capable, but they're not a general contractor and a roofer in one the way they are at T-Spark. If you're looking to renovate your home as well, T-Spark can help with bathroom remodeling, kitchen remodeling, and outdoor additions, and much, much more. Happy to have T-Spark and the boys back on with the Jeff Cameron Show. We always appreciate that very, very much. If you want to know more about T-Spark, as we've told you before, tsparkenterprises.com. T-Spark Enterprises license number CGC 1525336, CCC 1331204. I'll start singing that soon enough, guys. Just kind of turn it into a song. Jeff Cameron Show 93.3, Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV continues in a moment.
Hey everybody, this is Shannon Young with Cross Country Mortgage. Been in the industry now for 22 years. I just made the move over to the nation's largest retail lender, Cross Country Mortgage, here to serve you in 7 states, including Florida, Georgia, Alabama, the Carolinas, Tennessee, and the state of Texas. Here to offer better service, better rates, and if you were thinking about buying or if you've been on the fence and been waiting to call me, now is the time. You can still find me at loansforknowles.com. That is, again, loansforknowles.com. I've helped thousands of fellow Knowles get into their dream home, and I can't wait to help you get into yours. Give me a call today. I'm at 954-369-6171, or go to loansforknowles.com. Again, that's 954-369-6171, and that's loansforknowles.com.
Equal housing with NMLS 373031.
No matter how busy life gets, your home is the place where your family and friends show you they care and celebrate with you. That's why the professionals at Barano Heating and Air Conditioning always make sure your home is comfortable. Just like those who matter to you most, Barano will always be there for you.
This is Tyler from Barano Heating and Air. Now you can schedule an appointment, purchase or renew your service agreement, or pay your bill from your mobile device. Any day, anytime, anywhere. When you turn to the experts at Carrier and Barano Heating and Air, online at baranoac.com.
Florida license number CAC 1816186.
There's no
The best happy hour in the city is at Café de Martín and El Bar. All day, every day, you can find great deals at Café de Martín while enjoying the best outdoor seating Tallahassee has to offer. Sip away on 2-for-1 house wines, Chilcanos, and margaritas all day long, Monday through Thursday. Plus 2-for-1 Pisco Sours and margaritas on Fridays and Saturdays, and 2-for-1 mimosas for Sunday brunch. Come join us at Café de Martín, where every hour is happy hour, in the Esposito Shopping Center on Capitol Circle Northeast.
Florida man, what's wrong this time?
Well, it's my alligator Hank again. It's so dang cold, he's been digging all these holes in my backyard trying to find some heat to keep himself warm. He doesn't want to come out to eat, so I have to yank him by his tail. My back is killing me again.
Poor Hank. I mean, I'm really sorry about your back pain.
You have any idea how hard it is to pull an alligator out of his heat hole when it's colder than a polar bear's toenails outside? Not to mention the added weight of the gold chain I bought Hank last year for his birthday.
Well, it's time to get you back in to see the doctors at Finn Chiropractic. You can book your appointment online, so there's no waiting in the cold.
You're right again. Look out, Dr. Finn. I'm coming in hot.
At Finn Chiropractic, they'll get to the root of your pain and deliver the solutions. Book your appointment online at finchiro.com. And you'll even get an online discount. Visit finchiro.com today and find your path to a pain-free tomorrow.
Science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50 for those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
As we recall, basketball season exists and it's winding down. I bring it up not to depress you. I am slightly depressed. I get depressed when we're not involved in an exciting time of year in a sport that really only has one exciting time of year these days, and that is the madness of March. That is when conference tournaments begin. I don't care about the big conference tournaments, the money grabs that those are, but I do care about the small conference tournaments where it's a one bid league, winning that tournament. There's a lot on the line. Those tournaments are still interesting to me. You know, like yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, if you're Jim Phillips, the ACC tournament is very interesting to you because you're looking to steal a bid. You only have 3 right now. So you might even instruct the officials, if you have to call an extra block instead of a charge against Duke, do it. Do it. We need another team in there.
Yeah, maybe. The ACC is in such poor shape. Yeah, you're right, I suppose. But look, even the ones that are in, other than Duke, you're kind of like, well, yeah, I mean, like, you need to get wins. It's been a rough go. But bottom line is, I am depressed because I like mattering in that sport, and it's not a great version of the sport currently. The game is not as great as it could be, and as it once was even. There are a lot of factors for that. But I'm sad. Saturday, 4:00, SMU. I'll be there. Say goodbye. Doff the cap. It's time to move on. Time to get going. Under my feet, grass is growing. I'm with you, baby. I'm all in. Glad that Ham is resigning. Time is up. I want to make that abundantly clear. Some of you seem to mistake the affection I have for the man and his accomplishments at Florida State with not being able to see the forest for the trees. Oh, no. I thought a couple seasons ago we probably needed to move on, quite frankly. I mean, this has not been good. And you could see the writing on the wall with the changing landscape, that once basketball took a hard right turn to where it is now, really college athletics did, I didn't think we had the right guy at the helm. This is not something that your older coaches, 74, 75, 76-year-old coaches are going to suddenly adapt to. It's really difficult. It's a little unfair to even ask them to do it, especially at a place where they really don't give you any help. It's not like they're out here investing big time in college basketball to make it easy on you. And so the combination of his age and what was happening in basketball and the effort to procure talent and NIL and all of that, I thought, well, this is the beginning of the end for Leonard Hamilton. I even said that probably in the eyes of many people were premature. The second you saw this, I went, we're done. It's over. He's not going to make the adaptations necessary. It's not going to happen. And look, I mean, it's very rare. I don't want to get into it for fear of being accused of ageism, but anyhow, it just doesn't happen that often when things shift. And I'll use technology as an example. We all have older relatives, and the second the new technology hits, it's not like they flock to it and kick ass and operate it effectively within weeks of learning it or hearing about it. It just doesn't happen. It's just part of it. And so we knew this is where it was headed, and unfortunately, it's headed that way in a hurry. And this program hasn't done anything of significance in 40 years. So I'm glad that time's up. But I can also reflect and remember what he did for this program and the successes he did have and the man that he is, which is that of very high character, and be sad that Saturday is the end of an era. Some of it saw an awful lot of high points. But I am eager to now move on to how soon do we find out who the next coach of Florida State basketball is? And one would think you're going to know sooner rather than later, because you have to understand the conference tournaments, of which I just alluded, are going on. The men's side, women's already started, but in the men's side of things, the conference basketball tournaments begin. You've got small conference tournaments already beginning, which are much more interesting than the big conference tournaments, or the power conference tournaments. Again, because of the pressure of a one-bid league. I enjoy watching that. But the candidates that you are looking towards will soon be candidates that others are looking towards as their seasons also wind down and these tournaments end, or these teams get eliminated and the season is officially over and coaches are available to be interviewed and talk a little bit more and their representation. So I think we're going to get significant information and soon regarding Florida State's next hire as the basketball coach. And I can tell you that I doubt very seriously, short of being excited about a name you know because they're a former Nole, you're probably not gaining access to the elite of the elite, the creme de la creme of coaches, the hot names in the coaching circle. You're just not. This place isn't that. There are financial concerns. There are financial liabilities. And so you have to, I don't want to say lower your sights in terms of expectations for what that coach can achieve, but I do want to say that if you were hoping to hear the hottest of the hot names, it ain't happening. That's not happening here.
Speaking personally, I have little expectations for what the next coach can achieve. I think that's the right way to go about it, because I don't believe that the infrastructure is here for the coach to succeed. It will be once we get into a Power 2, and then there are no excuses. But I think that there are hurdles, introductory hurdles, for the next head coach to clear, that I'm going to give him time. I mean, I'm not going to say, well, this guy can't succeed, and so therefore I want him fired. No, I'm going to give him time, but I've got no expectations for what next basketball season is going to be, or the following season is going to be. And if they deliver, that's awesome. My expectations will be exceeded, and I will therefore enjoy basketball season. You could say I might be performing a bit of a psychological trick on myself to make sure that I'm not disappointed with what happens next year. I think Leonard Hamilton has been operating. I know Leonard Hamilton has been operating without the full support of the money of what this university could pour into basketball, because they need to focus on football. I'm not even blaming the university necessarily. I think they could have helped a little bit more, could have done a little bit more. But I understand that when you're in a crisis point, which is where we are, and you have to choose, you choose football, and you choose football every single time. But for the next guy, they're going to have to clear those hurdles, build inroads, and it's going to take some time. So when that hire is announced, I'll be interested. When that press conference is held, I'll be listening. But I am going to have little expectations about immediate impact for the new head coach in terms of tournament bids and things of that nature. I just don't think it's coming immediately.
Regardless of who they hire. And I think, I got to be careful because I do have some inside knowledge of some of this. I tend to think, and have said all along, that it's likely going to be somebody that has ties to Florida State, okay? And I think there are a lot of reasons for that. Most of the time, for all of you who say, well, why does that matter? I would say I agree. It shouldn't. In an ideal world, you just get the best candidate. And if the best candidate happens to be a Marshall grad, then so be it. If the best candidate never laid foot in Tallahassee and has never been part of the basketball program, but is just a damn fine basketball coach and has access to NIL money to bring in players and is an incredible recruiter as well as teacher of the game, then I'd say hire that person regardless of their lack of connections to the program. Agreed. But there are extenuating circumstances here where I think it would be beneficial to hire a guy that has an understanding of what Florida State basketball is and is not, most importantly, and how to navigate that. And to that end, I do believe that the top two candidates are former Noles. I really believe that is probably the most likely scenario, whether that be Sam Cassell, of course, who I watched play here all those years ago and went on to have a brilliant NBA career and has been an assistant coach in the NBA for a very long time, or a more recent graduate who had his own success here, Luke Laux, who also is a very, very viable candidate. We do know, I specifically know from having spoke to Luke Laux that he is very interested in the job and has interviewed for the job. We know the same is true of Sam Cassell. There are others who have interests, those that I don't have as much contact with, who have expressed real interest in the job.
You would say, though, that Charlton Young, CY,
I call that connections to the, yes.
He understands what would be necessary if he took this job. He is very well acquainted with what he would have to overcome, right?
Without question. He absolutely is. And yeah, I'm not saying that there aren't other guys who also, you're saying that because CY only coached here. He didn't play here.
He's not a Nole in terms of, playing status, but when you're talking about, I have to know what I'm saying yes to at Florida State and what they may say no to when I'm the head coach at Florida State. Like, CY would understand that inside and out.
Yeah, without question, he would, and so he too would be somebody that you would consider in that grouping that has an understanding of Florida State's realities. But I'm fine with. I know that there'll be blowback. I think anytime that you hire somebody that isn't a significant splash, people go, "What gives?" But I think anymore in college basketball, what we've seen is that the person has to have a real vision for how to run a modern college basketball program and how to find resources and angles to bring in impact players that are being vied for by the other institutions that might have more money to throw at them. Because I think you're going to have to do more with less in Tallahassee. And there are people out there who probably have and are asked to present such a plan. It's very fascinating. That the underworld and the underbelly of college basketball has always been extremely dirty. It has always been a sport where the cheats succeed the most. It has always been a sport where it has been over the top and obvious. You know, like the FBI investigating Kansas, and then they win the national championship with no repercussions, despite having violated federal laws. I mean, okay. I guess just we're going to be out here doing things. And that's college basketball. It's been a dirty, ugly sport for a long, long time. And you need somebody who understands how to get down in the muck, baby. How to do it. How to make it work. So whomever we hire, whatever their reputation is, I hope they're willing to cheat with the best of them. I hope they're willing to violate every rule under the sun. I hope they have access to large sums of money that doesn't derive from Florida State, because they're not going to get it from the university. And we have precious few true contributors to NIL for basketball. So you got to find me somebody. Connections, my man.
I hope that everybody is willing to allow them time as well. I think because so many teams get into the tournament, you might immediately expect, if there's a change at Florida State, and Leonard had a nice little run here in the last 10 years where we're going consecutively to the tournament, that it can be done in year one. I suppose it could be done in year one. I'm just saying that I would expect there to be bumps in the road during the transition period. If we were in the Power 2 tomorrow, my expectations would change drastically. If the university said, starting in 2026, 2027, we have accepted our status in the Big Ten. Florida State is now a Big Ten institution. Well, at that point, I think that they would evoke a lot of response from people to fortify the ranks and speed this process up. But if we're going to be in neutral for a couple of years here, man, just allow this next coach to have some time to put the pieces together.
Tom's calling for patience. I don't have any. You get in here, start whooping ass. I'm tired of this. You just need one really good player to win in basketball anyhow. Just one. Whole bunch of role players to get the ball. Hit an open shot every now and again when that guy glides through the lane with the greatest of ease, kicks out to you wide open ass people. Hit a shot every now and again. Let the stars shine, but get me some people in here.
Do we have the $4 or $5 million it would take to get somebody who's that good?
This cheat that I want to hire sure does. That's what I'm hoping for. We got to do whatever we got to do, Tommy. This sitting around here not mattering during March Madness is getting old in a hurry. As a Jeff Cameron Show advertiser, you get a free ad board for your business. It's that simple. So my folks at Tried and True Consulting, the best in the biz and being hired all throughout the Big Bend area, having already conquered Orlando and other communities, it's happening here in Tallahassee, but they've gone about it the right way. They are Knowles helping Knowles, saving you money, making you money, and giving back all the while. If you're an advertiser currently on the Jeff Cameron Show, you have an exclusive offer from me and that Tried and True team. All you got to do is contact them to receive a free ad board. You get a free 55-inch 4K television. You get free installation, 6 months of free ads at all the other locations across Tallahassee. So basically, whatever it is your company does, now all of a sudden those TVs are in a bunch of locations advertising exactly that. You walk into a bar, you go, oh, look, there's Ted's Grill. And I'm not in Ted's, but I'd like to go. Well, that ad says that on Tuesdays they've got great tacos. That's what you're talking about. So if you have a TV, you save even more and you push that towards other free ads. It's fantastic, guys. And you're going to want to know how to get in touch with Don and Joe, both Knowles. 844-463-6653. You can just remember 844-I'm4Knoll. That's the way to get it done. Tried and True Consulting. I've been enjoying their presence since they've arrived and joined forces with us for some time now. It's Jeff Cameron Show 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. 63 this afternoon under sunny skies. Northwest winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Lows dip down to about 39 tonight. High temperatures reach up to 69 tomorrow. Lots of sunshine. 73 Saturday with a chance of thunderstorms. 70 Sunday, chance for storms continues. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 63.
Bull riding, the perfect fusion of strength, skill, and pure willpower. Professional bull riders aren't just athletes. They're daredevils with cowboy souls. Come experience the true modern West, where 8 seconds of glory will create a lifetime of memories. It's PBR Tallahassee at Donald L. Tucker Civic Center, March 14th and 15th. Tickets available at Ticketmaster.com and PBR.com. Hold on tight. The ride of your life is about to begin.
Ain't nothing but a G-pop, baby.
I am 99% sure that is not how the lyrics go.
Well, you like remixes, right?
Of course.
Well, think of this as a Grassroots Coffee remix per se, because Grassroots Coffee is now in the single-serve coffee pod game.
Dude, those single-serve coffee pods and cups are weak sauce.
Not Grassroots Coffee G-Pods. They have more coffee in them than regular single-serve pods and cups.
Seriously?
And not only do they have more coffee, they have a built-in filter for better brewing. They fit in most Keurig machines, and they are fully compostable.
It's still the small batch, slow roasted coffee you love, so go to grassrootscoffee.com and get your box of G-Pods today.
Baby!
See? Remix!
Well, actually, that's more of an homage.
Grassroots Coffee, locally owned, locally roasted, and made for everyone, loved everywhere.
Grassroots Coffee G-Pods. So very good.
There is no Bigfoot, Eddie. Would you stop with that nonsense?
There's a Bigfoot, Jeff.
I wish there were. By the way, I don't want you to point to me as the guy that takes all the fun out of the room. I wish there was the Loch Ness Monster. I wish there was the Bigfoot. I wish there was the Chupacabra. All the things.
They're all mythical except for the Bigfoot. The Sasquatch.
The Bigfoot?
The Bigfoot. There's big feet. There's lots of them.
So like different breeds, like different kinds
there's
of...
there's like, families. There's different families. And,
so if they're in the snow, you call them a Sasquatch.
Or the Yeti, right?
Yep,
and then here in Florida, that's a skunk ape. And, I've
never heard that one. By the way, why do you think it's real? We would have found them by now.
They're the hide and seek champions of the world. Nobody finds the Bigfoot.
I think you believe in Bigfoot.
I do believe in Bigfoot.
You don't believe in
I
Bigfoot.
believe in Bigfoot.
Don't tell anybody you believe in Bigfoot.
I would go look for Bigfoot, but he scares me.
Florida, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Man, you know what I did earlier, Tom? I was going through with Mike Norvell's record when we were having that conversation. And one of the things that you end up doing is, you just scroll back and you think about, and you and I have talked about this a lot, so I'm not going to belabor it, but I guess I am belaboring it. The 6-6 regular season under Jimbo in 2017, as he is on his way over to Texas A&M and lying about it, and we end up having Odell win the bowl game, the Independence Bowl, and go 7-6 to have a winning record. But so if you want to do that, you're talking about 7-6, 5-7, 6-7, 3-6, 5-7. God dog it! A run of pure S. And then you get the hopeful spike followed by that dreadful running kick to the cojones, and you say, okay, all right. And I'm reflecting then on both headlines plus what you and I have talked about, the column on warchant.com. Man, it is a laser-like focus on you got to stop sucking. You've just got to get it together, everybody. This has to be like a run of 4 straight years as we're building towards a peace moment of good football. Really good. Doesn't have to be that you're, winning the national championship, although certainly I'd like to see you put yourself in a position to make a go of it. But you have to be an annual contender to win the ACC, bare minimum. That's where we're at. That's where this shifts to. You have to be a contender to win the ACC every year starting now.
This is something that I'm sure you've heard. It's a quirk of mine, and I know I do it, but it's to gear myself up when we're playing a round of 18, wherever we are. Could be Capital City, could be wherever. And I have 3 or 4 holes in a row that are just awful. When I'm on the tee box on that next hole, I call myself an a-hole, and I say, get it together. All right, and I'm over the ball. Get it together, a-hole. Let's do this. We got to gear up. And that's the program right now. I'm not talking about Mike specifically. I'm saying that's the program.
Right. Yeah.
Get it together. Can we stop with this insanity? This is nuts. We are putting in the resources. You would be the first. We talked about it last segment with basketball. You would be the first, and I would be the second to say, well, if you're not going to invest, then what the hell do you expect? We are investing. This is a moment that has been met. The fans met it when the snub happened. Membership for the Battle's End went through the roof. And I was wondering how that would look. I wondered if there would be cancellations of season tickets and booster contributions and Battle's End contributions. Nay, it went the opposite way. There was a defiance in our fan base to rise up and meet the moment. And then when there was a dalliance with Alabama, Florida State from an athletic department standpoint, met the moment. They gave the man a raise. They gave him more promises and resources in terms of what would be available to the head coach of a football program, whatever you need behind the scenes. They said yes to more things. You can't meet all of these moments as it's arriving at its crescendo with that slop. It's just awful. It's mystery meat at Shula's. These don't work. You can't have mystery meat on the plate when you order a steak at a really nice restaurant.
No,
so
you can't.
I agree with you. There is a whole lot riding on this. And if we really have to get into the weeds about football, I'm squirming in my seat right now as I'm speaking with you on the air because we have another 2 weeks to go until spring practice starts. I need more data points. I can't keep thinking about this god-awful 2024 season. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the rhetoric around it. I need to see something. Just give me new people that are wearing the helmet. Give me new people running around in practice. We've got to turn this page, and it can't come soon enough. Link Jarrett, you're doing an awesome job of distracting us. But since you brought it up this way, yeah, I'm about damn tired of talking about 2-10.
Well, and this is where basketball comes into play. You haven't been able to fall back for even a day.
No.
on basketball. You haven't been able to say, oh, well, at least I got basketball right now to couple with baseball. You don't have anything. You have the baseball, which I love. Again, great. But we know football drives the bus, and we are entering into March Madness. We're at the beginning of baseball. You can only get so excited about, Lipscomb. You can only get so excited about Jacksonville. You can only get so excited about Georgetown and Penn. I am excited, and I love it, and going over to Hauser is almost second to none. It's incredible to hang out there, and that breeze comes through, and the puddles quiver, and the dust flies off the fan as you sit with a cold beer. I mean, it's second to none. But that said, it is early season baseball as opposed to what's about to be postseason basketball, and you'd love to sink your energies and concerns and hopes and dreams and all that as a fan into the sport, but you can't. Instead, you're following a job search, which I did take up a segment on. It matters. We are paying attention. I'm telling you my thoughts on those potential hires, but it is just a segment. You can't do an hour, and this isn't even about filling content. This is about filling your brain as a sports fan, going season by season, team by team, sport by sport. And, not having that means that you're hyper-focused once again on the thing that you wanted to block out until it returns for real, which is on the field practices. And that's why you're kind of locked in on that. But I do think, Tom, that we'll be very, very businesslike, very, very, I almost want to just say mechanical or
clinical.
Clinical is a good choice of words, Tom, not that I could think of. But yes, it is perfect in that sense that you're just going to go day by day, but you will have sort of a reserved approach to celebrating those wins and losses and pluses and minuses in practice. But at least it will be a new set of eyes, a different voice, and you got an influx of an awful lot of new players. To your point about, give me some new players. You got a lot of new players. And you have a lot to digest, a lot to kind of ruminate about once it's happening and jot your notes and try to get a sense of, because they're not trying to beat Alabama in the spring, although the building blocks for it start then. But you are just watching and monitoring and hoping and saying, all right, well, I'll take a good look at this, and then we'll go from there. And but you can't get too excited and you can't get too down if it's clunky, because it might be clunky.
That's, at least it's new. It's just something more. That's the thing here is you got to start somewhere, but you got to start. And it's 2 more weeks until they do. Even after 2-10, I was wondering, are we going to flatline here? Are people not going to care at all? And until we get to kickoff of the fall, I go back to that early signing period and flipping those kids that I talked about a little earlier. You're getting a 5-star defensive end. You get another 4-star defensive end. He had decommitted from LSU, but essentially it's a flip. You flip a prized skill position player from Georgia. You go get a couple of receivers and flip them, one of which is from Florida. He was committed to Florida. You get a 3-star corner, but apparently he's making some waves in Arnaud that Auburn very much liked. So you're going and grabbing kids from SEC schools. That's not cheap. That's not inexpensive. And then you make some splashes in the portal and you go grab some SEC offensive linemen and you go grab a Deuce Robinson and make sure that he's going to be a part of the skill position fold moving forward. Like, people had to have said yes to investing for us to have done all those things. And so I feel like even though we're coming off of a 2-10 season and general fan interest might be in that wait and see mode, there still is something here of an undercurrent that if you could only just get out of your own way and channel it a little bit, Mike, people are going to be galvanized by a bounce back, but then also galvanized about the promise of being in the Power 2 in the future, in the very near future. If you can just harness that this year, you have a chance to not only salvage your job, but be here for a little while and succeed while doing it. This is such an important moment, and I hope he doesn't get it wrong.
Yeah, and I'll say this. You didn't just get a shot in the arm regarding the win that came down on Monday and Tuesday, but you probably got a renewed sense of faith in the powers that be that thrust us into that position, because there were a lot of question marks beginning to develop. And I talked about the 2 fingers to my eyes, 2 fingers back to you guys over there in the athletic department. Like, hey, man, we all believe in the vision, but what do we got going on here? Everything working out now? I mean, I'm starting to get a little nervous. So you kind of got that shot in the arm that might pep everybody up a little bit right when you needed it, above and beyond just the results. You got that little push that you needed. Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas have everything you need for pool maintenance, chemicals, cleaners, pumps, vacuums, nets, covers, you name it. They've got it. And they already have the largest selection of premium hot springs hot tubs in the entire city, which you can easily finance. Make these amazing hot tubs amazingly affordable. It is true. In some cases, it's 0%, huh? If you got an older hot tub and you're saying, I got to put this old clunker out to pasture, but how do I move a hot tub? Well, don't worry about it. Pinch a Penny will come get it, haul it away, give you some money towards the next hot tub that you want. That'll do it. They make it easy. Go check them out today. Having an amazing hot tub is not out of reach. Go see them today on Greer Road. Massive selection. Find out for yourself how easy and how affordable it is. Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas. If you're ready to relax, they're ready to show you how. Good stuff. Exhale. Some of you in the chat have been asking about the greatness of this pullover. It is indeed from Garnet and Gold. I've got a great eye. And I saw this bad boy a couple years back and snatched it off the rack. And I've been waiting for the right moment. Today was the right moment. 62, 64 degrees, not too hot, not too cold. This is just what you're talking about. Look at that. Look at that. What do we got going on there? So that's what you do. Garnet and Gold. Now, I don't know if they have any more.
No, they're sold out for the moment, but I can ask. There are people asking. They're asking about this hat, too. This happens every year. So I'll ask over at Garnet and Gold and see if they're doing a re-release soon.
Good. I have that hat as well, Tom. But you wear it a lot, so I don't.
I love this hat.
That's how that works.
Yeah.
Final hour, power hour, bonus hour coming up next. Stay tuned. Our partner, IS